It's December 2nd, 2019. It's been pretty chilly here in Seattle. Let's start the update over here. The pine tree looks pretty much the same. Peony down here, you can see I cut away the leaves, and here's a dormant sprout that's gonna come up during the spring. The calla lily, you can see I clean up the dead leaves as well as the rhubarb. Over here we have the saffron. You can see the leaves are still getting taller. Not seeing any flower buds though. Here we have some flowers. You can see the California poppy isn't really doing anything. And the sweet alyssum is still flowering. Up here we have the hydrangea. You can see the leaves are falling now. Rosemary, I think it's still sending out some new leaves. Up here we have another rosemary. You can see all the flowers. That's gonna open pretty soon. Here's a bunch more flowers. And then here's a lot more flowers. Over here's the lavender. You can see it's still flowering. And at the base it's still sending out some new growth. And we have another saffron. Leaves are still getting taller. And then the green onion looks like it's the growth is slowing down. And over here we have some summer snowflakes. You can see the sprout is coming up slowly. And here's a few more sprouts. Not seeing any sprout in that pot. Here's a bunch more bulb plants. I'm not seeing any sprouts from these yet. The mulberry, it's completely gone, as well as the lily of the valley and the blueberry. It's pretty much all the same now. Here we have the new hydrangea. You can see the leaf is turning more of a reddish orange color now, and the center bud is going dormant. Grape hyacinth looks pretty much the same. And the strawberry, you can see a bunch of leaves turning red, and at the base of the plants is actually a bunch of new leaves, smaller though. Down here we have the dahlia. You can see most of the leaves are dead. That's caused by the temperature dropping below 0. The leaves over here are still around because it's shaded by the railing. Yeah, I'm gonna clean this up. Over here we have the hydrangea. You can see I cut off the flowers and clean up the floor because there was a lot of dead leaves. I clean up this hydrangea as well. Here we have the asparagus. You can see this is the last leaf that is still around. And the catnip is really taking over this pot, so I might need to watch out for that. The raspberry, you can see some flowers are still around, not really doing anything now. A lot of leaves are pretty much gone. Grape is the same thing. Down here we have the bulb plants. Let's look at the hyacinth. You can see some sprouts coming out already. And here's another one. And the crocus that were kept wet over the summer. There's also some sprouts. See, here's sprouts and the leaf coming out, and here's another one. As for the crocus that was kept dry, I'm not seeing any sprouts yet, so they're definitely slower. And the snowdrop, the only sprouts I'm seeing is this variety over here, this one. And this pot is some daffodils, and I think these are probably grape hyacinth. And another pot of daffodils. You can see a lot of sprouts coming out already. Here's a lot more. Lastly, we have the artichoke. You can see I clean up the dead leaves, and here's still some leaves around. As for the indoor garden, here we have the elephant food plants. You can see the plant is still dropping leaves. And yeah, a lot of the branches are getting kind of bare. And this succulent over here is doing really well still. You can see the two little baby plants coming out from the side, and the baby plant on the flower stalk is getting heavier. The orchids are doing well. The Venus slipper orchid, you can see a lot of new leaf growth and new plants right here. This one too, here's a new plant coming out from that side and another one from the other side. The mini snowflake dendrobium is flowering actually. You can see right here is a flower stalk, and the other plants is sending out this flower stalk over here, and another flower stalk over here. So we have a total of 3 flower stalks from dendrobium so far. Down here we have the mini oncidium. This pot over here is sending out this huge flower stalk with a bunch of flowers, and on this side of the plants you can see another flower stalk coming out. And this other mini oncidium is doing the same thing. We have 2 big flower stalks with many flowers, and on the other side you can see another flower stalk coming out right here. So yeah, it's really the flowering season of the mini oncidium. Also right here is a new flower stalk that's also coming out. So yeah, a lot of flowers from mini oncidium. Down here is some other orchid. These guys aren't really doing anything. Hopefully they'll flower soon. And the snake plants, so doing well. Here we have the phalaenopsis, new leaf still getting bigger slowly. Over here is growth. I think I mentioned it a lot of months ago, but I think it's getting bigger now. For here we have another orchid. It's doing pretty well. And the frizzle sizzle, you can see the leaves is pretty straight and it's not curly anymore. And from this side you can kind of see how the plant has divided into 2. There's one on this side and another plant on this side. As for the succulent pot, most of them are doing really well except for this guy. You can see it's dropping leaves, and the leaves are pretty etiolated. And the pineapple looks pretty much the same. I think it's still sending out new leaves like this one. Up here we have the ficus tree. You can see the new growth is doing really well. It's started to drop a lot of leaves though. You can see some leaves that's turning yellow, but then the new leaves are looking pretty healthy. So yeah, I think that there's gonna be a lot more leaf drops. Lastly, let's look at the hanging plants. Here we have the spider plants. You can see it's sending out a lot of new leaves and new flowers from the flower spikes. And you can see a lot of baby plants on the flower spikes, and some of the baby plants is sending another flower spike, so it's kind of like spider plants inception. It's not focusing, but yeah. And the hoya plant is doing really well. There's a lot of new growth. Like over here, you can see this vine is sending out 3 new leaves over here. And this vine over here is still getting longer with a bunch of new leaves. And then this vine is also sending out some new growth. Like right here, you can see a new leaf. The pear plant is looking pretty much the same. It's still sending out new leaves. And lastly, let's look at the staghound fern. You can see the oldest shield frond is completely brown now, and the newer shield frond isn't really growing anymore. It's just turning brown. And the anther fronds are still coming out nicely.